Hi, are you Mike?
Yeah?
Fuel economy Mike?
Yeah. How may I be of service?
Well, I have this 2004 Titan. I don't want to buy a new vehicle, but I need to bring up the efficiency because I'm traveling so much.
Okay. How many miles do you have on it?
About 190,000 miles now.
I have some ideas. Why don't we go inside where it's a little more comfortable and I'll go over some things.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Have a seat.
Thanks. Nice shop.
Thanks. You'd be surprised how much crap you can accumulate over the years. Good equipment too.
True.
Yeah. You said you have 190,000 miles on. What I found is that most people won't do any maintenance or fix anything until some light on the dash comes on. At 190,000 miles, your spark plugs are really wore out. But that doesn't mean the check engine light's going to come on. That doesn't mean that you don't feel a loss in power or anything. But the fuel economy tune-up is designed to not just restore lost power and economy, but actually go better than stock. And I know the factories are really awesome. Their engineers are great, but they work under compromise. So they have the bean counters on one hand saying don't spend more money than you have to. They have EPA on the other hand saying you have to meet these emissions. And what you buy at the dealership is that compromise. In the aftermarket, we have the freedom to actually do better. And sometimes that means we're spending a little bit more on components than the bean counters would allow the engineers at the factory. Follow? The spark plug is an excellent place to start. I mean, the ignition is the low-hanging fruit on 99% of the vehicles out there. We like to start with a product called Polestar spark plugs. They're capitalizing on plasma discharge ignition, PDI for short. So the amount of fuel that gets converted to energy, performance, fuel economy, is initiated by that spark. The more powerful the spark, the more fuel actually starts igniting sooner in the combustion cycle. I know I'm getting technical and fancy, but what it means is that you're taking more of the energy in the fuel and making power at the wheels with a more powerful spark. And a lot of the newer coil on plug vehicles, that's the easiest way to make it better. A lot of vehicles will have an ignition wire, where you have sometimes from a coil to a spark plug. Sometimes it's a coil pack where you get two wires coming off of each coil going to the spark plugs. Cars that use the ignition wires, we upgrade to Granatelli's MPG Plus. They're non-resistor, and normally non-resistor is going to wreak havoc on the computer and radio and all, but they have this RFI ring that suppresses all that. So you get all of the spark energy at the spark plug from the coil without making all that electrical noise. Next, if the vehicle has cap and rotor, we go with the brass terminal upgrades. When we have an ignition wire, we can do something called peaking caps. So let's just say your stock spark is here, Polestar spark is here, peaking cap spark would be up here. With the coil on plug, it's very difficult to do, which I think your truck has, but we could do peaking caps on a lot of vehicles. And that more powerful spark, you can feel it. You can feel it, and you can see it at the gas pumps when you fill up. It does improve fuel economy. So ignition would be like step one of a fuel economy tune-up. Second, the factory air filter element is almost always paper. And when it gets dirty, you throw it in the trash, winds up in the landfill, you get another paper filter element, put it in, and even brand new, they're still restricted. AEM, K&N, they make cotton filters, which are reusable. So when they get dirty, you put them in the sink and you scrub them out good with a dish soap, dry them, re-oil them, put them back in. And they don't go to the landfill. They're more expensive up front, but you never have to buy a second one. Third part of the tune-up is we're going to plug in, there's a little connector under the dash, the OBD2 connector. We're going to plug in there. We're going to look for any codes, pending codes. And then we're going to look at how the oxygen sensors are performing and other things, something called fuel trends. They tell us a lot about how efficient your engine is. And then with that baseline, 99% of the time, you're still working with factory stock original oxygen sensors. And at 190,000 miles, they are what's called stupid. Technical term, I didn't make it up, stupid. And what that means is that they're still functional. They're not setting a code. You don't have a check engine light on, but they are so inefficient. With oxygen sensors, we don't go to an auto parts store and just get some off-the-shelf stuff. We go back to, you have a Nissan, we're going back to a Nissan dealer. Factory OEM oxygen sensors. 99999 times out of 10,000, if you don't go with the OEM, you lose performance, you lose efficiency. Again, a little bit more money up front, but that's where you're going to get a fuel economy tune-up, kind of a performance. With 190,000 miles on it, your throttle body is going to be all crusty inside. Your PCV system is going to be all coked up. So we're going to go in and thoroughly clean that. And while we're in there, chances are there's some easy mods we can do to the PCV system where we actually improve its efficiency. It also will give you light throttle response. That's an improvement. And since you normally drive light throttle, that additional performance will turn into better fuel economy when you fuel up. The last thing that we like to include in a fuel economy tune-up is something we call the interjector, or IXR. It's just a simple, inexpensive device, and we wire it in with the fuel injectors. Now, because remember I said EPA is telling the car company engineers what they can and cannot do, the engineers have this window that the engine has to operate within. And believe it or not, they cap how fuel efficient the engine can get before it starts freaking out, tripping codes. I know that sounds unreasonable, but that's what we found. So what the IXR does is it just extends that window. And depending on modifications, a simple fuel economy tune-up might be 10 or 15% over and above with the IXRs. And some additional modifications, we've seen as high as 40% gain over stock fuel economy with the proper hardware and IXRs.
Interesting. Well, is there any proof that this actually, this combination of upgrades or tune-ups actually works?
Every vehicle is unique. We have a training program online. It's at mpgenie.com. There's a lot of text. There's a lot of videos. We filmed a class that takes all the information on the mpgenie.com website, and we taught it in a live group in the Poconos back in December 22. Because every vehicle is unique, to answer your original question, the best I can offer is we competed, me and my partners competed in the X Prize 100 mile per gallon equivalent fuel economy race back in 2010. We didn't make the finals. We were using a stock body Hyundai Sonata. We didn't lighten it. We didn't remove seats, that kind of nonsense. And full-bodied Hyundai Sonata, we got, in one of the trial runs, 83 miles per gallon. Now, that's 45 miles per hour Michigan International Raceway. Steady state, no stop and go, no high speed. But we did take that same car to Roush. Now, Roush Labs certifies OEMs. So when Ford needs to ensure the federal government, EPA, that they can meet the emission standards, they go to Roush, and Roush runs it through a battery of tests and then puts numbers on the window sticker and also gives them their certification with the government. In other words, they're as good as it gets. And we took that Sonata to Roush. The emissions were still within spec, so we didn't do any emissions tampering, but we went from the stock 30 miles per gallon highway to 44, which is a 40% increase. Amazing. So to answer your original question, I can't give you a guarantee on anything I do to your truck any more than I can guarantee anybody else on their vehicles any kind of a number. But I think that Roush testing with that X Prize Sonata does show that my team has the capability of getting the job done when it comes to fuel economy.
Well, that sounds great. I really want to give this a chance. I think We'll give it a try.
Let's do a fuel economy tune-up on your Nissan, shall we?
All right.
All right, let's go.